old school teaching method has improved NAPLAN results at 56 Catholic schools in the ACT and Goulburn. The teaching style known as direct instruction was introduced in 2020, and now Catholic schools have delivered their best NAPLAN results. For more, joining us live is the education editor at the Australian newspaper, Natasha Bita. Natasha, good to see you. Thank you for your time as always. Explain for us what changed here. There's plenty of critics, obviously, of NAPLAN, but it does give schools and parents a benchmark to track progress or otherwise over the years. There are so many negative stories around children's education standards, but it sounds like this group of schools that you've reported on today are doing something right.
Yes, it's a really interesting experiment because direct instruction or explicit instruction, any of your viewers around my age would remember it from our own school, going to school, and the teacher leads the classroom, explains really clearly what you're trying to learn. They make sure that you get it, you practice it, and then you move on to something else when you understand the first bit of knowledge. And then there were these sort of fads that came in the 80s and the 90s of, student-directed learning where, the kids would, they wouldn't sound out words in books. They'd sort of try and guess a word by looking at the picture and the context, and children would decide what they wanted to learn in the classroom. And frankly, it has been a disaster for a whole generation of children. So in the ACT, the Catholic diocese decided to do an experiment, and they used all 56 of their schools, introduced direct instruction 4 years ago, and the results are in, and the data is there, that the results have improved. It works and everyone should be using it.
Yeah, good to have a great news story on the education front, I'm sure, for you, who reports on this all the time. Parents around the country are no doubt logging on to that My School website today to check out their child's school results. So I've been checking it out this morning as well. It's always really interesting to have a look at your child's school and see how they're, comparing with other schools in your area. What do you think the broader story is in terms of how public schools compare with private schools, city compared with bush, girls with boys? What's the story emerging, do you think, today?
Look, the issue is that ACARO will never, they don't like the media even ranking schools, they don't like comparing schools, they will not compare private and public schools as a group. They do compare children from poorer families and children whose parents might have a university degree and a high-paying job, and you can see a real difference there to children's performance. So, the poorer the family, generally, the poorer the performance. However, what this data is showing, I've had a look around on the website and found some very disadvantaged schools that don't get a lot of money, but they are using direct instruction methods, and their results are really, really good. So I personally believe that we should be putting more funding into education because I think that it is important for our productivity and important for our social cohesion. However, we also have to ensure that the money is spent on instruction methods that work, on things that help the students to learn. Otherwise, it's money wasted.
Absolutely. And Natasha, for parents who are going online today and trying to check this out and get their head around, as you described, a pretty complex set of data and standards, how much stock should parents be putting in these results today? We know, I mentioned before, there are plenty of critics of NAPLAN, the union's chief amongst them.
Well, I would put quite a bit of stock in them because I do think that reading and mathematics and writing are the basics for all learning, particularly in primary schools. You also, though, want to go to a school where, perhaps there's no bullying, or a school where they might have really good extracurricular activities. They might have more sport or music or art or things that are good for your student. But I still think we should pay a lot of attention to the NAPLAN results because it shows how well the school is managing to ensure that everyone is, meeting standards. We've got 1 in 3 kids who did not meet the minimum standards in NAPLAN this year, and it's just not good enough for Australia.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. And Natasha, really appreciate you joining us. Fascinating to hear about that group of Catholic schools doing something different and getting the results. Thanks so much.
Thank you.